making it. Uh, I'm Keith. I've worked at the Maritime Museum for, about 30 years, and I'm going to present a fair amount about one component of my work that relates to North Carolina cetaceans. I love questions, and so during or after, feel free to ask questions. This is a small enough group, and away we go. Come on. Try again. There we go. If your phone makes a sound, you have to put a donation in the Fort Macon's donation box. Silence your phone. There we go. So in the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to cover these topics as it relates to North Carolina whales. Not necessarily in this order, and there's some overlap. I just wanted to give you a heads up of what I'm going to be presenting. Okay. You got this, Keith. Trying to advance it. There we go. So just as an introduction, I wanted to present the two major groups of whales, baleen whales, and that's represented by a humpback whale on the upper left, and you can see its open mouth. It's presumably healthy and well, feeding. And baleen is attached to its upper jaw. They lack teeth, and the hairy part is on the inside. And the gum is attached to the upper jaw. And inside the lower jaw and throat is literally tons of water and terrified fish. And if it's not a baleen whale, it's a toothed whale. And I'm passing around, no question about it, it's a tooth from an adult male sperm whale. On this poster, or on this slide, I've represented toothed whales by the toothy grin of a bottlenose dolphin. Technically, they are small toothed whales. And I want to introduce to you probably the oh wow of my career, reflected on this poster. This poster shows all the known species of whales, dolphins, and porpoises known to science on Earth as of about 9 years ago when it was printed. Collectively, the term is cetacea. It's a taxonomic term. I might call them cetaceans. And in this poster, all the baleen whales are facing to the right, and all the toothed whales are facing to the left. So just to introduce you to a few, right whales and humpback whales are both baleen whales. We're only likely to see them in the months of November through April. Those are the most common baleen whales we see from the beaches and piers in North Carolina, and only in the winter time or shoulder season, possibly. For example, North Atlantic right whales, highly endangered. The first sighting of the season was last week, a pair at Cape Lookout. So it's happening. We're on schedule. And then I'll show you the bottlenose dolphin, and the biggest of the toothed whales by far is a sperm whale whose tooth you're holding. But here's the oh wow. I'm going to put a green dot on all the baleen whales we have documented in North Carolina over the last 40 years, and that's that. Now I'm going to take those away and put a green dot on all the toothed whales that we have documented in North Carolina over the last 40 years. That's it. I'm going to put them together, and it's going to get messy, and that's my point. 35 species. That is an oh wow to me. I did not see it coming. I'm not bragging. This is not competition. But as far as I can tell, that's more than any other state. We don't have the biggest coastline. We don't have the best biologists. Yet we've been able to document this. And this is all scientific cruises or stranding response to where we know we got the species right. This isn't my Uncle Peggy said he saw a blue whale. And no one would associate orcas with North Carolina. but we've had one strand and multiple live sightings. So anyway, mainly, I want everyone to know that about this diversity here, primarily because we have so much to lose if we don't, learn about them and work to try to protect them. And some people are doing good work to do just that. There's some characteristics off the coast that I think contribute to the diversity. One is the continental shelf's proximity to the shore. So a lot of these deep water species we see in North Carolina. Also, south of us, there are two drop-offs that I'm showing with my pointer. I don't know if the online people can see the pointer, but those two drop-offs host unique species of fish, birds, and now we're learning marine mammals. And where do they come together? Close to shore, right off North Carolina. So that, and probably things we don't quite understand, contribute to our diversity. The next slide is going to be the same land, same water, but sea surface temperature. And this is a day in March, just as an example. And you've likely heard of the Gulf Stream, which brings warm tropical water up near the coast. And this is the Labrador Current extension. Some people call it the Virginia Current. And it brings cool water down. And where do those two water temperatures, those two bodies meet close to shore? Right off North Carolina. So I feel pretty confident that contributes to our high diversity as well. Questions or comments or anything to add? Yes.
The orca that you said was observed in North Carolina, do you know where?
Generally, the sightings I'm familiar with, and I'm going to show a slide of that actually. Oh yes, the orca stranding. The question was about the orca stranding, or the orca sightings were in North Carolina. I think around Cape Lookout in the wintertime, associating with bluefin tuna. I think I'm going to show a slide that will answer that question.
Or was it inshore?
No, not in the inlet. In the shoals, with inshore of the beginning of the shoals. I mean, within 10 miles of the beach. Not predictable. Not a lot of them. We don't know much about orcas here. And this is the most endangered whale that we can see predictably in North Carolina. It's a North Atlantic right whale, mom and her calf. And this one was right in Beaufort Inlet and then swam over to Shackleford Banks. And the mom is facing to the right. Those are her blowholes, top of her head, high arching lower jaw. And she had a newborn with her, and that's her newborn baby right whale, probably weeks old. This is super exciting. And right whales, individuals are identified by the growths on their head. And when I sent this picture to Phil Hamilton of the New England Aquarium, he very quickly came back and told me, "Oh, Keith, you just took a picture of Mono and her newborn calf." And I said, "Phil, I cannot believe you're up at 10:30 at night doing this, and you responded to me so fast. It's amazing." And he said, "No, Keith, it's depressing. If you send me a picture of a mom and calf, there are so few of those. I know them all by heart. I don't have to go to the catalogs." And that was no wow to me. There aren't many potentially reproductive moms in this tiny population. And what's tiny mean? The best estimate, as far as I know right now, is about 370. A small percentage of those are potentially reproductive females. Hi, welcome. Oh, and that's the word, callosities. Won't be a quiz, don't worry. But those are the growths on the head. And this is another case. I'm really just showing this. I'm not going to get into this deep. It's too darn depressing to me. But entanglement is one of the major killers of right whales. Variety of gear, lobster traps or gill nets. And this is a well-known mom who was lethally entangled, and everyone who knew this case was surprised that she could actually give birth. She gave birth, and long story short, this mom and calf are presumed dead. If you do an internet search for snow cone, you'll get a refreshing summer treat. But if you do snow cone right whale, you will learn about this well-documented tragic case of how, an example of how we are losing right whales. Yeah. It depends on the time frame you're talking about. Where did you see 2.2%? No, that was a meeting 2 weeks ago in Boston. I want to dig into that more. Thanks. That is cutting edge. She's on top of it right there. Yeah. Right now, in the last, okay, let me just tell you some good news. It should be, yes. So here's a bit of good news I get to share with you. Let me see if I have a slide. Yes. So this is on the NOAA website. It's pretty darn accurate, and this shows a 370 population size. And these bars are how many calves are born each year. Okay. Last year, 2024, this small population produced 20 new calves. That I'm thrilled to tell you because it is up from 12 the previous year. Okay, this year, 2005, we're sitting at 11. And reproduction will start within a month. That number is higher than the deaths that have been documented. That's what I attribute it to. Smarter people might have a different answer. And I'm going to show the QR code to this now, and probably at the end too, if you wanted to. Oh, first I gotta give a shout out to the aerial survey team who collects all the data and all the info I shared with you. Starting next week, they will fly every pretty day, leave Beaufort Airport, noisiest plane in the airport, and they're looking for right whales, and they report where they are, how many, are they entangled, or just debilitated, do they have a calf? And so just a shout out to them. They kind of look like badasses, but they're really cool. Yeah.
They observe entanglement. I imagine they call that
yeah, immediately, and they trigger the.
Shouldn't you be out there with a skin diver suit with some scissors?
Almost. I may not, and I'm not authorized to, and it won't enter the water. But I do go out with a tag sometimes and place it on the trailing gear.
But I was sort of joking about
yeah. Yeah, there are. Yeah, they've come down here and trained people like me to maintain satellite link tags to place on the gear of these entangled whales. And it's a network. It's called the Atlantic Large Whale Disentanglement Network. So yes, you make an important point, and I'll repeat it for the online audience. When they see an entangled whale, that they trigger the disentanglement network.
But yet the one from last year, did it get to
that was several years ago. That one disappeared with her calf. The calf disappeared first, and then the mom did. The one I showed you, snow cone.
Yeah.
But the disentanglement last year was Argos, could have been 2 years ago, and a large team, Georgia, DNR, Duke, and others, successfully disentangled it and removed, I believe, 2 lobster traps from its tail. It was horribly entangled. The assumption is it brought the traps down from Maine, and that's just not an assumption. They're pretty sure. And it was discovered in North Carolina by the aerial survey team, and they coordinated the response, the aerial survey team, these women. And the good trained people got the gear off, and it was sort of a celebration, but smarter people said, no, this whale's not going to make it. And it hasn't been seen since, as far as I know. The money comes from the Army Corps of Engineers, and it somehow gets through Clearwater Aquarium. And I heard recently some of the money from the wind leases off North Carolina is part of that chain. That's the best I understand. A little worried about them, but they told me that as far as I know, they're flying this year. I'm glad to see that because they're great collaborators. And if you spend one day in this county, especially in Beaufort, which is our county seat for Carteret County, you will see this. And it is our Carteret County seal. And this is on every website, every vehicle, every county building. Most people probably think those are fish. That's okay. But not only can I tell they're whales, because they have a smooth back, no dorsal fin, I know that they are right whales. In case I haven't made it obvious, my thing is conservation and research and education, and this has nothing to do with that. This is all about economics back in the day. This is the species that was hunted from our shores, targeted for most of 2 centuries. Unsustainably, I might add. I'm not blaming North Carolina for their demise, but we certainly contributed to it. I've covered a lot. Let me slow down again. Questions or comments or anything to add? Okay, I'll do this periodically, so feel free to save them up. And so that's the QR code to the North Atlantic right whale, and I'll show this later in case you want to go right to the website and learn more. The largest of the toothed whales is a sperm whale. This is one that's stranded at Cape Lookout. And this is a good photo to demonstrate a strange thing about deep divers. They lack teeth in the upper jaws. They only have teeth in the lower jaws, with very few exceptions. And those teeth fit into sockets in the upper jaw. Long story short, fresh dead whale, terrific necropsy was done, cause of death not determined. Huge volunteer and donor effort resulted in a display in the North Carolina Maritime Museum, which we installed in March 2012, of this whale. And Christine led a naming contest, and the name Echo won. So that came from a live stranding at Cape Lookout. Sperm whales. They were the primary target of the whaling industry for most of the industry's history, I'm pretty sure. And it wasn't so much the blubber oil, but the oil and wax in the head of this animal. It's a strange anatomy. I cannot think of a head that so poorly represents what the skull looks like. Like, most of this head is not skeletal. And I think I have a slide about that. But first, I want to play for you a sound clip of sperm whales that the acousticians on the boat with me told me they thought was 3 different sperm whales. And let's see if this works. Whalers used to call them carpenter fish because the sounds were like hitting a nail with a hammer. Okay, if you were expecting the melodic repeating song of a humpback whale, I know you're terribly disappointed. We don't know what they're saying, but we think it's really, really important. And humpback whale is the most common large whale that's sighted off North Carolina, from shore. And this is a humpback whale with its characteristic dorsal fin. And I've never seen a live humpback whale that wasn't associated with bottlenose dolphins, and that's the other critter in the slide here. Bottlenose dolphin close to us, humpback whale behind us. And this is my favorite of favorite photos, a lunge-feeding humpback whale feeding on menhaden right off Beaufort. So in the background is Shackleford Banks, and we're right about there at Fort Macon. You can steal this photo off the Bonehenge website. Couple interesting things. You can see the baleen in the upper jaw. And every humpback I've ever seen, alive or dead, has a lot of barnacles on it. And I want to show you that a whale is not just a whale. A whale is a whole community of marine wildlife, and you're welcome to handle it. That is a barnacle I plucked off a dead humpback whale in Kitty Hawk in December last year. And it's not just a barnacle. It's gooseneck barnacles growing on an acorn barnacle, and that's the humpback whale skin. I mean, one of these would slow you down, and it had hundreds of these. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to handle that if you're interested. If you don't want to touch it, my feelings won't be hurt. But and that's with a knife, a fillet knife. Yeah. Wish I got more. Absolutely. And we have no clue. There probably is. I don't think people consider them parasites because they don't get nutrition from the circulatory system of the whale. This might be just a nitpicky definition, but they do grow on the whale and benefit. I don't know how these might benefit the whale, but they probably take advantage of food available from hitching a ride. I mentioned humpbacks are associated with barnacles, like hundreds of them in this one, and that's an example of gooseneck barnacles attached to an acorn barnacle attached to a humpback whale. And there was more wildlife there too, a bunch of lice, but they all jumped off before I could drop it in alcohol. So anyway, just wanted to have an opportunity to hold that. And if you've ever been on a whale watch, you probably know this. The fingerprint to identify humpbacks using the process called photo ID that I introduced you with right whales. It's the ventral, the bottom side of the tail is the most used features. It's the notch pattern and the color patterns. And this picture John Russell took off our boat is a great photo for ID. And again, you can see the barnacles that are associated with it. And what about these marks? Any clue what would have caused that? Yeah, scars from entanglement. Yeah, this humpback survived an entanglement. And from some estimates I've read, half of them bear signs of entanglement. It's not always lethal, it often is. And I'll show you another example of one. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that. And probably the biggest oh wow from humpback photo ID that I've been involved in is this. A humpback that I photographed off Shackelford Banks in '95. The following year was off of Cape Cod. That's very predictable. We kind of know that feat, and they go down to the Caribbean also. That's well known. But that same whale 13 years later was photographed by a film crew off of Bermuda. And people smarter than I didn't think that was possible. Of course, I didn't think either. I mean, I didn't know how cool this was, but they just thought, whoa. To me, this just highlights how effective such a non-invasive technique can be to teach us new things about whales. And photo ID is pretty non-invasive. So, dead humpback on the beach. You're going to play photo ID with me. This humpback is on its belly. That's the tip of its snout. Blowholes. This is its right flipper. And we can't see the bottom of the tail. So how do we get to figure out who it is? We literally have to cut the tail off and borrow or rent a backhoe. And that's what we did. And we lifted the tail up. And that is it. So just to orient you, it was cut off there. I'm going to shift that photo and shrink it down to the lower right. I'm going to flip it upside down. I'm going to bring in John Russell's photo off of Shackelford Banks. And I studied this, and others did too. And I want to bring your attention to the entanglement scars and how it's darker on the tip of the right side than it is on the left side. And smarter people than I determined that this was not a match. But this is how photo ID is done. I just want to highlight more diversity. I'm not going to get into these in any detail. These are 3 different species of very deep diving whales called beaked whales. Seen alive, mostly seen dead or dying on beaches. Except Duke's doing a great study with a goose-beaked whale on top, so they're seeing a lot way offshore. Pilot whales, somewhat predictable in some areas off North Carolina. These are short fin pilot whales. This is the only stranded orca we have a record of. Kill Devil Hills in 1974. It was a live stranding. Pulled offshore, probably died somewhere else, but it just wasn't documented. It was this is the only record. But this is okay. It says off the Outer Banks. Mark, I can tell you, I probably can dig out some more data on this sighting. But we do have multiple sightings. I think 8 total. So that's not a lot in the last 30 or 40 years. 8 killer whale sightings that are reliable. And the most recent one that will totally interest you is 14 miles off Kitty Hawk last March. And this is a photograph from the aerial survey team, and it was pushing around a live bluefin tuna. Huh? What's going on there? Anyway, they determined it was a young male orca, and they just took some video and stills and then went on with their surveys. But this is super exciting.
So what's going on?
Right. We don't know. We don't know if it ate the tuna, or if the tuna was disabled, or just playing with it like a cat plays with its foot. I don't know. When you find out, come back and tell me. Oh, and this whole orca conversation is so I can show you this. And this is the only image I have that's not North Carolina. It's in the Sea of Cortez, where I used to lead whale watch trips, and actually it's kind of blurry because it's a frame grab from a video, and I want to play you the video just for fun. This was like one of the whale watch trips. This is a 1-week trip. This is the last hour of the last day. We saw a group of killer whales.
There's a ray right here. Oh, gosh! I got that on video.
Anyway, those orcas just tearing up mobile arrays right next to us. It was kind of scary for me, but passengers, they probably didn't know enough to be scared. I mean, there are wings and body parts all over the water, and that was just, yes, she got that on video. Many species of dolphins, and if someone like Mark goes far offshore and he sees dolphins, I mean, I can't even guess what species it is without a good photo. What we see from the beach year-round are bottlenose dolphins, and that's the only cetacean we will see from the beach year-round North Carolina. I don't care if you correct the person on the dock next to you who says, "Oh, look at the porpoises," but we're seeing North Carolinas. We're seeing bottlenose dolphins in North Carolina.
There were lots of dolphins.
'Tis the season.
And also they were having a lot of lunch.
Neat. Where?
The Turning Basin.
Okay, Mark's reporting a dolphin sighting in the, yeah.
Also through the end.
Yeah. So 'tis the season. This time of year, I think they bunch up to migrate. So if we go out and look for them, we either see huge groups or none. I don't know if that's your experience. Yeah, and little ones. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah, there's a bit of a birth peak in September, and you might be seeing some of the ones that were born during that birth peak. Okay. Yeah, you see a lot that I don't see. I love hearing these from you. And I want to give a shout out to our Marine Mammal Stranding Network. Every coastal state has one. We are just North Carolina, so we get all the calls of dead, dying, entangled marine mammals. I say we. Actually, it's my wife, Vicki, who works through the aquarium, and so she has a hotline. So every aquarium, Coast Guard, every police department knows what number to call if someone encounters dead or dying or entangled marine mammal. And a shout out to these organizations who have taken leadership roles in that stranding network. Because I'm going to show you a couple examples of the types of things we respond to. This is one. It was a live minke whale, but afternoon before at Cape Lookout, by the time we got there in the morning, it had just died. Minke whale, it's the smallest of the baleen whales. This is a case I want to show because it's right off Fort Macon. This is a Fort Macon story. And we got a call one evening at the dinner table. A jogger on the beach right here was jogging with a humpback whale in October. So this time of year, we can see them. And she said she watched that whale swim into a net, get entangled, turn offshore, and took the net with it. And it was 6 o'clock in October, and that's near sunset. And I looked at my wife and I said, I'm not going to get volunteers. I'm not going out to find this needle in a haystack, and the weather sucks too. So we agreed if someone reports it the next day, I would go out. And darn it, at 5:30 in the morning, someone called and said, hey, I'm fishing and this is entangled humpback. So anyway, he didn't want to stay with it, but I talked him into it, and I just jumped in the boat and went. And so this is it. Its dorsal fin is there, blowholes there, and this is the float line of a monofilament gill net. And this is the tail, and it's injured and bleeding. And this is the float line of the monofilament gill net again. And my job was just to stand by and document it until some well-trained experts could go ahead and do the disentanglement. And this case ended in a way that I'd never heard of. And I'm going to tell you what happened. All right, so right next to me, it surfaced, gave a big blow and inhale. So these are its blowholes. It's facing to the upper right nostril, left nostril. And then that's its dorsal fin. That was important for photo ID as well as the tail. And this is the best picture I could get of the tail. And that was just for photo ID. And then the whale went down for a long time, maybe a minute, and surfaced again and breached and swam away really fast. It had shed all the gear by itself. And I was like so happy, and I tried to get good photos of the whale. Then I realized that there's a net behind me, and if I don't try to get the net up, it might entangle something else, and the net was too big for my boat. So I called Duke and Fisheries, and they sent people out to help me gather the net. But it was interesting. When I was with this whale trying to document it, I got a call from someone at Marine Fisheries saying, Keith, there's this real pissed off fisherman here, and he said someone stole his net off Fort Macon. And I said, I think I'm with the thief. And so we brought the net to Fisheries, and the fisherman was there and said, yeah, this is my net, and it's all here, which made me feel like, yes, the whale did shed the entire net. I'm going to call this a success story. The whale might not agree, and the ID photos I took were not identified. It was a very young whale, so it probably wasn't in anyone's catalog yet. Yes? Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, the question was, do I know off the top of the head the restrictions, the laws relating to gill nets? And it changes periodically, so I hesitate to say whether you need to stay with your net or not, or how long it can soak, and whether it's recreational or commercial, all matter. I'm going to dig into that this afternoon because I want to know what it is currently, and you can too. Just go to the fisheries website and you can learn. I will say the laws in North Carolina, as far as I can tell, are less restrictive than other places I've been. For example, I used to work in Alabama. If there was a gill net and there was not a boat attached to it with a fisher in that boat, I could pull it up. That would be an illegal net. I can't do that here. So there are a lot of differences between states. Thanks for asking. I want to introduce you to Pitfall. Pitfall is a 37-foot, 3-year-old female humpback whale. This is her carcass when it came ashore on North Duxbury Beach, Massachusetts. She's on her back. She's starting to decompose. The decomposition is causing her to bloat. The bloating is pushing her tongue out of her mouth. Right flipper, left flipper, and her tail is off there. The next picture I'm going to show you is the same whale, same beach, same day, just from the tail end. So there's her genital opening and her anus. And because she's on her back, we can see the ventral, the bottom side of the tail. And when the humpback researchers came to the beach this day to look at the stranding and look at the tail. They said, oh my gosh, this looks like Spider's 3-year-old daughter, Pitfall. And it was. They knew her when she was alive. They know her mother, which is the only way I know she's 3 years old. And they know her 3 siblings. So this was a known whale with a bit of history before she was killed. The cause of death was not evident from the carcass on the beach. No lethal bites, no lethal entanglements, no sign of ship strike. Their veterinarians needed to do a necropsy, which is an autopsy on a non-human, and they needed to look for ingestion of plastic or broken bones or bruising or healing, and they found it. Her whole skeleton. Oh, yeah. I want you to play photo ID with me. So I'm going to show you a close-up of her tail, the bottom end of the tail, and that's it. Same beach, same day. This is a quiz. You got a 50-50 chance here. Is this half of the tail the right side of the whale or the left side of the whale? Left. Anyone agree or disagree? It is the right, because she's on her back. And I wanted to get this straight before I show you the next slide. Not picking on you, but yeah, because she's on her back. It is the right side of the whale. And I want to show you this pigment of black encroaching into the white. And the dark black, light, dark black. And then there's some lighter scars, 4 or 5 of them up near the right tip. A team of researchers from the Center for Coastal Studies in Provincetown photographed her 1 month before she came ashore, presumably alive and well. This is the photo they shared with me. There's the black encroaching into the white, dark black, light, dark black, and the lighter scars. So yeah, they were right. They knew this whale and a little bit about her history. This is her entire skeleton. In Beaufort, on the museum's Scout Channel property, we laid out some tarps and laid out all of her bones, weighed them for some geeky reason, because we wanted to make sure we had them all. And my friend Bruce, friend and volunteer, is lying next to it for scale. This is a big girl. The cause of death was determined. It was a ship strike. This ship strike broke her skull in 2 pieces. This is her left eye socket. The right one was destroyed by the ship strike. The right mandible was broken in 2 pieces. You can't really tell here. I mean, this was a devastating blow. The veterinarians tell me she died instantly. And we actually got the bones and want to use the Bonehenge Whale Center to put it together and tell her story. And that's what we're working on now, actually. Do you think, I kind of just gave it away, a ship could hit and kill a whale this size and not feel it and not know it? And this next slide is an example that the answer is yes. I have 4 other examples just on our East Coast of large ships coming into port with a whale on the bow. In one case, it was a live whale still. This is a Royal Caribbean cruise ship coming into a Canadian port. I'm not criticizing Royal Caribbean or Canada. I'm just the messenger here. There was no fine associated with it. It had no idea it hit a whale because this is a PR nightmare. That whale on the bow of this ship was identified as a fin whale, the 2nd largest animal on Earth, dragged off the ship, estimated to be 60 feet long, taken offshore and sunk. No necropsy. And you might reasonably say, so what, Keith? The cause of death is obvious. But what the veterinarians are teaching me is maybe the ship hit a dead whale. Maybe the whale had underlying conditions that contributed to the ship strike. We can't learn, we can't know if we can't investigate it. And so anyway, I just wanted to show you the example. It blows my mind that a ship couldn't detect this, but you can't see that from the deck. You can't see that from the control tower. You'd have to either put a boat or a diver overboard or fly a drone. Or, I mean, I would think the engineers would sense some kind of lack of efficiency. It's a 40-ton animal, and anyway, so we don't know how bad this problem is globally. That's sort of the point I'm trying to make. We know it's a global problem. Whales getting hit by ships. We know there are some hot spots. The entrance to the Chesapeake Bay seems to be a hot spot. Los Angeles is worse. Sri Lanka, Brazil, places we haven't heard of. It is starting to seem like wherever there's a lot of shipping, this is the roadkill. But if the ships don't know it, certainly we don't know it, and so we have a lot to learn. Questions, comments, anything to add before I terrorize you with just one or two more stories? As you can probably tell, maybe I should have warned you, and I'm laughing. It's kind of sad and serious, but I really like it when I can address a conservation issue. And that will influence whether I save anything from one of these animals if I can address a conservation issue. This is on the web. It's a little bit of research that just came out, and I want to share this with you. A yearling right whale, which I've already introduced you to right whales, was tagged with a suction cup satellite tag near the North Carolina-Virginia border. That is that red dot. You probably recognize the northeast coast of the United States, Cape Cod up here, Delaware, Virginia down here. And what I'm going to show for you is about a 20-second animation. Time lapse. It covers about 7 days. The blue are ships. The blue dots are stationary ships, not moving, possibly anchored. And the slashes are moving ships. And I'm going to start the animation and ask you to keep an eye on the red whale as it migrates close to shore north. And feel free to wince with me every time you see a blue slash intersect the red whale. I hope this works. Away we go. And it loops. But it made it. It must have been underwater every time there's an apparent collision. A captain who was familiar with the study came into Bonehenge to see me maybe 2 months ago. He said, Keith, that's about 1/10 of the ships. These are just the ships who volunteered to donate their location and date data to the study. I mean, I don't know how anything makes it, but this is a challenge. Okay. Another sperm whale came ashore alive in North Carolina and died on the beach. I introduced you to the one that's on display at the Maritime Museum. This is one that came ashore in Avon, North Carolina. It's just north of Hatteras. And juvenile female, teeth only in the lower jaw, that's predictable. And she was very skinny. The next slide is going to reveal to you what the necropsy found in her digestive system. And this is it. Most of it jammed in her esophagus. It did have squid parts in its stomach. The squid was on the other side of this plastic, and the cause of death was this plastic. Nothing could pass by it. You recognize some of these things. There's a rope of different lengths and diameter. That's a grocery bag. I think there's part of a balloon in here, plastic film, plastic bags. This thing is an air bladder for something. That's a hard plastic valve. I'm just thinking something you might put in your kayak for buoyancy, or maybe an air mattress, but this is alarming to me. And I don't want to lead you to believe this is typical. This is the most extreme case I'm aware of in North Carolina. But the oh wow here is we're finding more plastic more of the time in deep divers than we are in shallow divers. And we don't No. Why? These animals are living, they're spending most of their life, they're feeding where there's little or no sunlight. And I think of plastic as something that floats, and we read about the plastic patches and the floating islands, and we clean up the surface, and we hope we're making a difference. We're learning a lot about plastic by investigating these stomachs of these deep divers. And I just wanted to present you with that. I've recently learned this is not just a North Carolina thing. Other stranding networks in other countries that respond to these are finding more plastic more of the time in deep divers. On a lighter note, some of our local bottlenose dolphins. I might have a sound clip here. Yes. So just a 20 seconds of its anatomy. This is the head of a bottlenose dolphin. Blowholes. Melon that I think everyone agrees its primary purpose is to modulate sound. Sound that's created somewhere in these air sacs near the blowhole. Sounds like a dolphin. I'm just squishing air under my tongue. And people are pretty sure most of that sound that they receive is received through their lower jaws, and the ears are positioned where these megaphones of a lower jaw open up. But I just want to play you about a 20-second sound clip of bottlenose dolphins I recorded with an underwater microphone off Shackleford Banks. This was about 17 dolphins. They were doing some long dives. And I just want you to relax, maybe close your eyes and really, really listen to these sounds. Listen for whistles. Anyway, flowing sounds. People describe those as signature whistles, identifying itself. I'm Keith, I'm Keith, I'm Keith. Listen for echolocation clicks. Sometimes it's pulse sounds. Sometimes it sounds like a squeaky screen door. Echolocation. Navigate, find food, possibly disable food. And speaking of disable food, and I think I've got it here, listen for what researchers call the Big Bang. It's a loud, focused sound. Sounds like a distant gunshot or a cap gun. And it's always preceded by echolocation clicks. So you might hear, and that bang, some people believe is powerful enough, focused enough to kill or stun a fish. So let's have a listen. Don't fall asleep. There you have it. I call that the dolphin's greatest hits because every sound I've ever heard them make is in that clip. That's on the Bonehenge website. You can download it, you can make it your ringtone, and your final exam is to translate it to English, and it's due on Monday. Are there any questions? I have to say, most of these sounds, we really have no clue what they're for, but it's another world out there. All right, but back to the terrorizing you. This is a very recent case. This is the exhibit that we just completed, and I brought it here today to show you. My wife, Vicki, got a call. Someone on Harker's Island said there's a floating dead dolphin near the shore, and she went down to investigate it, and this is what she found. And it's a yearling bottlenose dolphin, and there's something strange going on with its jaws. I'm going to show you a close-up of it. So this is the left side of the head. Its eyes there. This is the gape of the mouth. Blowholes right about there. And this is line that's constricting both jaws. And this that I'm holding is literally that line. Sanitized, it doesn't stink anymore. Okay. I asked veterinarian Craig Harms if he would share the x-ray of this head, because I wanted to see what we might be up against should we want to create a display to address this case and this conservation issue. And I'm going to show you his x-ray. That's it. And I kind of feared, but I didn't know the force of the line literally, the upper jaw is in two pieces. And he did something one step further. I hardly know what I'm talking about, but he did a CT scan, and I want to show that to you. And this CT scan shows in 3D and in much more detail the chronic nature of this entanglement. There's displacement of teeth. There's healing. And the lower jaw was starting to get damaged. And I just want you to know that this is that head. This is the skull. And when the lights come on, I want you to take a look at it if you're interested. If you don't want to see it, I don't blame you. I cannot think of a worse way to die. This is the worst story we have. There's no question about it. This young dolphin was nursing when it got entangled, and it would have still been nursing when it died. Most of its short life was dying entangled next to its mom. And this doesn't so much show line cutting into skin and bone as it does bone of a fast-growing young mammal growing around the line that was slowly entangling it. And so feel free to look at that if you're interested, but sadly, this is the third one of these that I've worked on, and it's the most common human interaction that we can document in our local dolphins, entanglement in our trash, mostly some sort of fishing line. Yes, they're all very young dolphins. I have never seen a live swimming adult. We've seen dead adults in nets. Yeah, what's up with that? That's a great question. Yeah, all three were yearlings. Oh, that's what I just showed you. So you can come up, look it up close. So our response in North Carolina has been to put up receptacles and boxes in beaches, docks, and piers, tackle shops, pier houses, to try to educate people and collect the line. We have collected thousands of miles of it. We're at about 5,000 miles now. I weigh it all, send it off for recycling a few various ways. But we started this program in 2007. There's no indication from the stranding data that entanglement is getting any better. I mean, we're just scratching the surface, but we're trying to make a difference. And so if you ever participate in a beach sweep or anything like that, I just want you to know it matters. You know, this is tragic, but feel inspired. We just try to get this out the beaches and out of the ocean. I want to slow down and just see if anyone has anything to add or if there are any questions. I have terrorized you. Okay. One more. Have you heard of Emerald Isle? It's near here, about 12 miles from here. I have an Emerald Isle story for you. And a woman called one evening and said, I am standing on a beach next to a live breathing dolphin. And we said, send a picture. And she took this picture and sent it. And it was alive when she took this picture, but I can tell it's not a dolphin. It's too big. Its pectoral fins, also called flippers, are too small. She has no erupted teeth where a dolphin would. She's a Gervais-beaked whale. You've not heard of it, but it's North Carolina wildlife, and we see them stranded kind of regularly, certainly every year. And by the time our team got there, she had died. She was small enough. Wait, who's doing that? You? Okay. She was small enough that they could pick her up, put her in her truck, and take her to NC State's Marine Lab in Morehead City, CMAS, to do the necropsy. She looked pretty darn healthy. There was no signs of entanglement, no signs of boat strike, no bites, no injuries. Somebody disabled my pointer. Oh. Okay, thank you, yes. And so during the necropsy, this is the oh wow moment. This is the oh wow photo. This is the entrance to the forestomach. And there was this. And it wasn't initially evident what it was. but it turned out to be that. And I just grabbed this off the internet to emphasize what we're talking about. It's a mylar balloon. There was no food in her stomach, no squid parts, no fish bones. There was mother's milk. And the mother's milk was on the other side of the balloon, and this balloon killed this young whale. That balloon, I thought I brought it. Yeah. That balloon is this. Rinsed out, dried. This is all it took. I don't know why balloon releases are legal. Not being critical. We all may have participated in our lifetime in a balloon release. I just don't know why it's not littering. The story I just shared with you happened in October 2023. That same month, October 2023, the city of Greenville, North Carolina, failed to approve a proposed ban on mass balloon releases. The mayor cast the tie-breaking vote. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do we have to argue about this? And we do, and I'm shocked. Twice, students at East Carolina University asked me to come give talks, and I'm honored to do so, and I bring the story, and they want me to. This is their town. I'm not being critical. I'm just the messenger here. I want to tell you what two women who identified themselves as politicians or representatives told me during these talks. During the first talk, a woman raised her hand and said, Keith, people use balloon releases for grieving. I don't want to take that away from my constituents. And as politely as I could, because I can't make enemies here, I just told her that this makes some of us grieve, and I dropped it. At the second talk, a woman raised her hand and said, can't we just ban balloon releases along the coast, but still do it in Greenville? And so you know how she voted. Digest that for a second. One of the students I worked with just picked up a balloon with a ribbon and a note on Atlantic Beach here. It was released on the Georgia-Alabama border. It's about 500 miles. I have been to events where I've seen, heard, parents teach their children that these balloons go to heaven. Release the balloons, sweetie, you will please God. I need help telling people these balloons don't go to heaven. I've shown you two examples of balloons and deep divers. This one clearly was the only cause of death. And there's a bill in the state legislature now, a proposed ban on mass balloon releases in North Carolina. I don't know where it's headed. Once this happened and we published it online, we started collecting more balloons because we were feeling so passionate about this. And then the park employees started to do it and bring us the balloons. I don't want the balloons. And then the Duke students did, and the NC State students, and they brought us all these balloons. I don't want these balloons. And my volunteers got very creative, and they rinsed out the balloons and dried them and shook the sand out, put them in a big box, and mailed that box to the mayor of Greenville, North Carolina, with a really nice note saying, we were disappointed in the outcome of your recent vote. Maybe with this new information, and they created a flyer about this case, suggesting alternatives, blow bubbles, light candles, sing songs, don't release balloons. And they just said, maybe this will change the vote should it come up again. I love that style of activism. Anyone can do it. And that's where we are today with a vote in the, a pending vote in the North Carolina State Legislature. A couple months ago, Florida banned mass balloon releases statewide. Who saw that coming? Great, I'm going to count that as a victory. Questions or comments or anything to add about this? Have I pissed someone off? Or... No? Yeah, okay. I just want to bring your attention to a new species of whale that you haven't heard of yet. It was just named 3 years ago. And I'm not going to get into this story. I mainly just want to offer you one or more of these flyers. I have 20 of them, actually. I have thousands of them. Someone from the Smithsonian just brought me boxes of these. The name of the whale is Rice's whale. It lives in the northern Gulf. It's endemic to U.S. waters. Its primary range is nowhere else. It's extremely endangered. And if you take one of these, you can go down those QR codes and learn about how you name a whale, how you discover a whale, what it took to do that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And shout out to the volunteers and donors who created the Bonehenge Whale Center, which is where most of the work I've described here today takes place, bone preparation. And this is it near the new high-rise bridge, which isn't new anymore, we're right adjacent to the North Carolina Maritime Museum property in Beaufort. And this is the inside. 2 stories, a lot of workspace. It's really a beautiful building. I would have been thrilled with a 1-story windowless Dollar General. And these volunteers built this. No government anything, no corporate anything. And it's just a wonderful place to work. And it's got a lot of love in it too. And in that window, at the far end, there's my friend John. Well, this is a bottlenose dolphin skeleton. And then my friend John is putting the finishing touches on the installation of it. But we got silly, and before he installed it, we painted the entire skeleton in glow-in-the-dark paint. And you can see I mounted a black light on the window frame there, child of the 60s. And so every night, it gets dark, and the black light comes on, and the dolphin glows out into the street. Not worth a special trip, but if you're in the neighborhood after dark and you drive by, that's what you'll see. Shout out to all the organizations that have contributed, or most of them routinely contributed to the work I presented today. This isn't just a courtesy. We all realize we depend on each other, and I'm very proud to be associated with every one of these groups. And I've seen it on Facebook, so it must be true. If you put a Protect Wild Dolphins license plate on your car, you will look younger and sexier, and your car will go faster and last longer, and you will be supporting the work I presented today. This is the only money we can count on, and it goes to the Friends of the Museum, and I get checks for about $10,000 to $12,000 a year from those of us who put these on our cars. My shameless promotion. You survived. Any other questions or comments or advice? Did I come down too hard on these conservation issues? Well, thanks for being here. And and again, take one or more of these. If you know an educator, you can make a handful. And you're welcome to handle some of the things up here. I've got some whale oil and some of the best books that I refer to and try to use are here as well, in case you want to learn more. Where did I put the line?
Right here.
Okay,